Coming up on State of Events, find out how one Bay Area school is trying to solve the homeless crisis.
And find out why electric scooters are rolling out of the city. State of Events starts now.
Welcome to State of Events. I'm Britta Larson.
And I am Sara Cabrerizo. Today is Tax Day. Hope you filed your taxes. And on to today's top stories. Michael Cohen, Trump's personal lawyer, reveals the name of mystery client. Fox News host Sean Hannity, the TV personality and declared Trump advocate, states that they had discussions about legal questions, but Cohen never represented him. Cohen was in a Manhattan federal court arguing that some of the documents and data the prosecution seized from him under a warrant are protected by attorney-client privilege. These papers could shed some light into Stormy Daniels' case, as we see her going into court on Monday.
President Trump responded to Syria's chemical gas attack by calling for a missile strike on their chemical weapons program. Soon after the attack, he sent out a tweet calling it a perfectly executed attack and ending the tweet with the phrase, "Mission accomplished." Many have criticized his use of the term and compared it to President George W. Bush's use of the term in 2003, 1 month after invading Iraq. He responded with another tweet criticizing the fake news media.
The Supreme Court ruled today on a federal law that deports immigrants who have been convicted of crimes. Lawmakers said that the law is too vague, and the Supreme Court said the same after a 5-4 final vote. When an immigrant is convicted of a violent crime, they are likely to be deported, and the conviction speeds up their deportation. This is not good news for President Trump, who made immigration his main focus since being elected.
The number of homeless students in San Francisco continues to rise, but one school is working hard to change that. Tyler McKinney has the story.
Buena Vista Horace Mann, a K through 8th grade school in San Francisco's Mission District, is hoping to turn this gym into a homeless shelter. It would give their homeless students and their families a place to stay overnight. There are more than 2,000 homeless students in San Francisco and more than 60 of them here that don't have a stable home. Principal Richard Zappian and Assistant Principal Claudia De La Rios Moran want to be a part of the solution.
It's just that it's impacting our students just like it's impacting people who are 20, 40, and 70 years old.
Several parents want to support the homeless families but still have their concerns. Many are worried about the overall condition of the gym, the lack of necessary facilities, security, and cleanliness. But the number of homeless students hasn't stopped growing, and faculty here feels that the benefits of the shelter definitely outweigh the concerns.
Students that come to school without knowing where they're going to go that night have a hard time regulating themselves to be in a classroom and staying calm and feeling ready.
Interventions and additional attention is already being given to students who need it the most, but it isn't enough.
We look at the students that are leaving classrooms, right, that are using language that's totally out of bounds. We're actually analyzing that, and what we're finding is in many cases these are students that are in unsafe situations.
Behind me is the gym that the school is looking to turn into an overnight shelter. Students and their families who currently have nowhere to go could come here and lay their heads if everything works out. Right now, parents and faculty are working really hard to do what no one else has done before. If everything works out, the shelter could open as soon as October. In San Francisco, I'm Tyler McKinney, State of Events.
San Francisco's Board of Supervisors is in much debate over a $1.1 million street cleaning plan that barely passed with a 6-5 vote. A State of Events reporter Sarah Sullivan gives us an inside look into what San Francisco streets may be in for.
San Francisco just can't escape its littering problem. From oceans to streets, the city has always been known to not have the best appearance for its residents and visitors. And in downtown San Francisco, trash and cigarette butts are found throughout the streets. According to the NBC Bay Area's investigative unit, a mix of used needles and human feces are also scattered within 153 blocks of the city. Part of the problem may have to do with the low amount of trash cans found in the downtown area.
Right here, I am standing in the middle of Grant Avenue, which for 3 blocks down have absolutely no trash cans found within the streets. This is probably what's leading to the amounts of litter being piled up within the Bay Area.
The cleanliness issue has been brought to light by San Francisco's Board of Supervisors, and there is much debate about the dangers of having a dirty city like San Francisco.
Not okay to have to step over human feces or dumping of litter on the ground when we know that with additional resources and with additional manual street sweepers that we can address this problem today. Don't see why we can't wait for literally a month or two. And that's kind of like a haphazard, piecemeal approach to how we are dealing with our budgeting process.
In the end, the Board of Supervisors voted 6-5 to take $1.1 million from last year's budget to add more street cleaners in order to tidy up the city. However, interim Mayor Mark Farrell has stated that he will veto the proposal. San Francisco's street cleaning spending budget has already skyrocketed from $33.4 million during the 2012-2013 year to $65 million this year. More meetings about San Francisco's dirty streets, along with the homelessness issue, are to take place later this month. In Union Square, San Francisco, I'm Sarah Sullivan for State of Events.
2 men beat and sexually assaulted an SF woman on Saturday. The woman attempted to use a ride-hailing service after a night out in Bruno's bar in the Mission. She jumped into a car with a male driver and another passenger in the backseat. But instead of taking her home, the car drove her to Sonoma. The man next to her in the back seat beat her before arriving to an unknown location where both men sexually assaulted her. She escaped and authorities found her outside of a Safeway store nearby. It is not clear yet if the car was associated with a ride-hailing service or app.
California voters may soon make the decision whether or not to split California into separate states. Venture capitalist Tim Draper started a petition known as Cal3. So far, it has gotten 600,000 signatures, which is more than enough to put it on the November ballot. The petition will be turned into election officials next week to verify the signatures. If passed, it would break up California into Northern California, Southern California, and California.
And back to the Bay Area, Doris Ward, the first African-American president of San Francisco Board of Supervisors, died on Saturday at age 86. Ward dedicated her life to fight for social justice and racial and economic equality. She fought against the KKK in the late 60s and started her political career in 1972. She became the first African-American to serve as board president in 1990. She died in her San Francisco home after a brief illness.
Next on State of Events, electric scooters are joining hoverboards on Banishment Island.
And don't just worry about protection in bed, but also on the internet. We talk to an expert on how to protect your Facebook data.
Protests, video apologies, and CEO meetings, oh my. Starbucks has caused a big spill after an employee had 2 black men arrested.
Reporter Karen Rios has the story.
Facebook is not the only company under the radar by consumers. Starbucks has just stepped into the spotlight as well. Police were called after 2 men refused to leave the Starbucks location in Philadelphia. An employee at the Starbucks location asked them to leave because they were not making any purchases. Although Starbucks did not specify if the employee was fired or transferred, they say he no longer worked for the store. People immediately held a Black Lives Matter protest at the location where the men were arrested. The CEO of Starbucks, Kevin Johnson, made an apology video after the arrest went viral. Kevin Johnson called the arrest reprehensible and promised to take actions. The CEO himself says that both men have agreed to meet with him. Let's hope Starbucks doesn't blend any more issues and sticks to coffee.
Bank of America is the second largest bank, and their profits just got bigger by 30%. Bank of America has tax cuts, market turbulence, and a rising economy to thank for. Bank of America broke their own history of the biggest quarterly profit since 2011. Their customers continue to use their banking online and have about 24.8 million users. Although there has been a growth of profits, they have only 4,435 branches across the nation compared to last year, which was 4,559. That's it for our business roundup. We hope to see you next week. I'm reporter Karen Rios for State of Events.
Thanks for that, Karen. New evidence says that Cambridge Analytica helped the UK leave the European Union. There was no contract nor money involved, but they did demonstrate their capabilities to the separatist group, says Nigel Oakes, founder of Cambridge Analytica's parent company, SCL Group. The controversial company is under fire for selling private data seized from millions of Facebook users to Donald Trump, who benefited from it in his 2016 presidential campaign.
A recent memo sent to Apple employees warning them about leaking information has leaked. The tech company has made it a point to keep their newest gadgets a secret until they are released to the public. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman received a copy of the memo that says that employees that are caught leaking information could face large fines and jail time. The memo also states that last year, Apple caught 29 leakers and 12 of them were arrested.
There is a new way to get around town, but not everyone is on board. A State of Events reporter Jessica Mongenier has the story for you.
Dockless, accessible, and easy to use. Electric scooters are taking over the streets of downtown San Francisco. It's hard not to miss them, whether you see people riding them or see them parked sporadically throughout the city. The dockless vehicles, locked and unlocked with an app, can be dropped off and picked up anywhere.
I love the idea that I could walk down the Embarcadero, pick this thing up for $1, and ride it to work.
Although convenient for some, I spoke with Mike Gahn, who rides a pedicab up and down the Embarcadero, and he says that safety is a huge concern for both the rider and pedestrians.
You can see them wobbling and shaking. They don't really know what they're doing, and we don't know if they're supposed to be on the street, in the bike lane, or on the sidewalk.
These scooters go about 15 miles per hour, which isn't as fast as moving traffic, but they are required to be ridden in the bike lane or beside cars and traffic, not on the sidewalk as many people may think.
A set of rules are printed and visible on each dockless scooter, but not always followed. A rule that is actually required by law is one that is most commonly ignored, and that is to wear a helmet.
I think the biggest problem is there's no education. There's no education about the laws on the sidewalk, what's not allowed and what's allowed, and there's a lot of disinformation.
The rules are not being enforced, and users aren't always aware of them before taking a scooter for a spin. SFMTA and city lawmakers are currently looking to form legislation to regulate dockless scooter sharing on public streets. In San Francisco, I'm Jessica Mongenier for State of Events.
Thanks, Jessica. And now, the regulation is closer than ever, but it may not end well for the scooters companies. City Attorney Denise Herrera ordered companies in a letter to cease their activities until they take stronger efforts to keep users from riding scooters on sidewalks, parking them so they block the way in the streets, or use them without helmets. Today, STEP's Board of Supervisors is taking up a proposal of an ordinance. If it's approved, the MTA could impose regulations and a permitting process by the beginning of May.
Reporter Gabby Gebhardt is live in the studio this morning with a special guest to give you a technology breakdown after the Cambridge Analytica Facebook scandal.
Thanks, guys. So this morning I am joined with Kevin Kelly, and he is a professor of instructional technologies at our very own San Francisco State University. He has a doctorate in education from the University of San Francisco and got his master's here in ITEC from SFSU. He is here to discuss the Cambridge Analytica incident and the data that was accessed from as many as 87 million Facebook users. So how are you doing today, Kevin?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. So let's get right to it. What does it mean for a third party to access my data?
So let's break that down into parts. First, what's a third party? Then what data are they collecting, and then what are they doing with it? So first, a third party Facebook's a platform, and so while they provide some basic functionalities like allowing you to connect with friends and share your photos and create a timeline, they don't do everything. And so they pull in third-party developers, which are either individuals or companies who make things like games, Candy Crush Saga, and you can use those to connect with your friends in new ways, and they are benefiting from the Facebook infrastructure. Next, the data they collect, Facebook collects our activity, they track everything we do, our profiles as well as our connections. But then advertisers who benefit from Facebook also collect data, such as things that you enter, like your email address and other personal information. And last, a third category of third-party developers are specifically focused on data collection and data analysis.
Okay.
And so that is the group that we want to talk about today, because they're trying to use the data to help Facebook create stronger ads targeted at specific people because of their patterns. And so they use that information to help Facebook attract more advertisers and make more money with their advertising.
Okay, so then what do you think these third parties are doing with the data after they've collected it?
So with that data collection and analysis, they're able to do a number of things. And some it's helpful. So Google tracks our data and are able to give us smarter search results based on things they learned about us from the past. But in other cases, you might have that persistent advertisement for shoes that you've already bought, but it keeps coming up because they know you were looking at those shoes earlier.
Yeah, I always feel like, you know, with Amazon especially too, that you'll see that your research, like searches, will show up when you're on another browser.
Exactly, and that's because the data is going to go across different platforms. They share the data, and that's what Cambridge Analytica was doing that got them in trouble.
So now what can SFSU students do to protect ourselves after these scandals?
Well, I would say there's two things that they should do. One is to be aware, and the other is to be intentional. So what do I mean by those? Well, first, being aware. Every time you join a free website, there's a button that you click saying, I agree. So most people don't read that statement of what they're agreeing to, and some of it is, hey, we're going to use your data in these ways. And so even if you're not going to read those statements completely, even I confess that I don't, but I do skim them to make sure the categories make sense to me. The second thing in terms of being intentional is think before you click. And so just like the old phrase used to be, think before you speak, now we're agreeing to do things online in different ways, and knowing who we share things with can be controlled in our settings. So if you don't want a prospective employer to see a picture of you at a party with a beer cup in your hand, then maybe you only share your pictures with your friends. And so that being intentional is doing things not just because it's fun, but also because you're aware of what's going on.
Yeah, being aware. That's a key thing to take away from this too. And then next question, so can we figure out specifically who has our data? I think there might be like a website we can check out.
Absolutely. And so first, we're talking about Facebook because of this particular incident, but you should be aware that everybody is collecting our data. Google collects our data, and even offline groups like rewards cards and Wi-Fi groups are collecting data about your cell phone patterns and mobile phone device patterns. And so we have to be aware that data analytics is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And so trying to figure out who has our data can be difficult. There's a journalist who tracked that 600 different apps have some of her data, and some of them have as many as 3,000 different pieces of information about her. And so, as you mentioned, there is a website called aboutyourdata.com, which shows you what one of the groups associated with the Cambridge Analytica, called Axiom, it shows you what they know about you. And in some cases, they fill in gaps. So based on your profile patterns, I might be a mother of 2 teenagers looking for, a dress because of the things that I've clicked on. But the fact is that they know a lot about us. So that's interesting. Next, we have a great article by The Guardian, which is a news site out of the United Kingdom, and they have a long list of ways that you can see what people know about you. One of them is going to Google. It's myactivity.google.com/myactivity. And you can find out what do they know about what you've done on their platform.
Okay, that's really good to hear. And then we have time for just one more question today, and that would be, do you think Facebook knew this would happen, or was it an unintended consequence?
I think it's a little of both. I don't think they intended for it to happen, but I think it's hard to believe that they couldn't have predicted it would happen. In the same way, if you're familiar with Jules Verne, he's an author from the 1800s, he predicted the car before it was invented, but he also predicted traffic jams. And so when we think about the technologies that we're inventing today, artificial intelligence, all these things, we have to think about what can it do for us, but also what can it do to us. And so we just have to be thinking about that as we enter the world.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, thanks, Kevin. That was such great insight. I'm glad you could come in, and we're just going to send it back to you guys at the desk, so thanks.
It's been a crazy week in sports. The Warriors have a 2-0 series lead over the Spurs. And find out what else went on in this week's Sports Roundup with Veronica Kuntervang.
And if you spent your whole tax refund on Coachella, it was worth it. Kelly DeLeon has all the deets on how Beyoncé slayed this weekend's festival.
I saw a sleeping bear, a grizzly bear. It was sleeping behind a tree, and I saw a real coyote. Even though the planet's spinning, you can't see it spinning. Recycle things like boxes or something. And water helps the environment so everything can live. No water fish could not live. I've been in the ocean. Or the beach, when I go to my grandma and grandpa's house, I can nothing would get water in our whole land. Throwing things away and using them again. The scraps we can make up. I like the planet. My future is now. My future is now. My future is now. My future is now. My future is now.
Another week means another round of crazy sports action. Borani Kunshubons got you covered in this week's roundup. Borani?
Here it comes. Got him swinging.
The Oakland A's fend off the Seattle Mariners at Safeco Field over the weekend. Lowry hits the ball high to right field and woo, child, it is gone with an early 2-run home run. The A's' strong defense solidified their win against the Mariners 2-1. That can't be said for the Giants during their match against the San Diego Padres on Friday. Ross hits towards right field, scoring 2 runs for the Padres during the bottom of the 5th. They score 3 more runs to beat the Giants 5-1. And in basketball, green was a theme during Game 1 of the NBA playoffs. The Milwaukee Bucks played the Boston Celtics on Sunday. Middleton sneaks a 3-pointer into the 4th quarter, sending it into overtime. The Celtics keep the Bucks on their toes and win it in overtime 113-107. And that's it for this week's roundup for State of Events. I'm Veronica Kuntervang.
The wind and rain in Boston over the weekend did stop women from making history at the Boston Marathon over the weekend. Desiree Linden became the first American woman to win the race since 1985. The American women went 1 and 2, with amateur Sarah Sellers coming in second. The American men's side was impressive as well, having 6 runners finish in the top 10 spots. This week's entertainment news is filled with festival fun and celebrity triumphs.
Reporter Kelly DeLeon is here with us to fill us in on the UEC news.
Thanks, guys. Coachella kicked off the weekend, and I'm sure took over everyone's Instagram timelines. Migos, The Weeknd, a pregnant Cardi B, and even the Walmart Yodel Kid were a few of the performers. But what brought even bigger buzz was Beyoncé's headlining performance. She's the first woman of color to ever headline the music festival. After having to back out of headlining Coachella in 2017, she came back with a bang and did not disappoint. Beyoncé performed a 2-hour set, which included an appearance from hubby Jay-Z, sister Solange, and a Destiny's Child reunion. Some people even nicknamed the festival Baychella. Not only did Beyoncé break our social media timelines, but Khloe Kardashian also broke the internet. The Kardashian gave birth last week to her first baby girl. Although no pictures have been released, Khloe Kardashian did announce that she has named her baby True, which led many people on Twitter to poke fun at the irony of True's name and her father's infidelity. And ending on a happy note, rapper Kendrick Lamar has made history. He won a Pulitzer Prize for his double platinum album, Damn, which was released in 2017. He is the first non-classical nor jazz artist to win a Pulitzer Prize. That's it for this week's entertainment roundup. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Well, Coachella looks like really fun. I wish I could have gone. What about you, Rita?
I do wish I could have gone, but I'm okay watching it on the internet through
Yeah,
YouTube.
it was like $600, like so expensive. But well,
Yeah.
I guess like Destiny's Child reunion was worth it.
I don't know, I'm fine just watching it. Watch it on YouTube. And that's all we have for today. Happy Earth Week.
And make sure you check stateofevents.net for more updates. We'll see you next week.